While we have now seen baby Archie bundled up and fast asleep, until now, there was a lot we didn't know about just how the seventh in line to the British throne came into this world.
That this is one reason why the king actually moves very carefully.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to make you watch it. SOT 24.
1 month, 2 months, 3 months, hit the baby mama when I'm stepping through the door.
She's
Yeah, I'm pregnant,
supposedly 9 months pregnant in the hospital room.
There's something that's been quietly bothering people for a while, and no one really wants to say it out loud. But here it is. Something just feels off when it comes to Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and their children.
To achieve whatever they were trying to achieve. And he included Diana, he included Prince Charles, he included Sarah Ferguson, and all of them in that. In the old days, we didn't know. Of course, the British monarchy had to modernise, and I get that, but...
This isn't about petty royal gossip or wild internet theories. This is about real documentation, some eyebrow-raising theories, and a whole lot of questions that the royal institution seems weirdly silent about. So let's go back to baby Archie's birth. Everything seems sweet and normal on the surface. Proud parents, royal baby photos, the usual PR-friendly rollout. But then something felt off. People started digging into the details on his birth certificate. And that's where things got strange.
She's reportedly bullied virtually everybody who's ever worked for her. She can't keep a staff in London. She can't keep a staff in Montecito. She's a bully. She's obsessed with her own ego, face on television, etc., and playing the victim.
In the UK, birth certificates adhere to a strict format. They're supposed to list both parents' full legal names. But on Archie's, Meghan's name wasn't fully listed. Instead of writing Rachel Meghan Markle, it simply said, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex.
The certificate shows the mother as Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, and shows her job as Princess of the United Kingdom.
So now the question is, who made that change? Meghan, the palace, and more importantly, why?
Going to say something or do something dramatic. You just don't know which platform she's going to monetize it on. Mystery is power. Look at the royal family. And Meghan gave all of hers away, one interview at a time.
Every other royal mom before Meghan, including Queen Elizabeth and Kate Middleton, had their full names listed on their children's birth certificates. So why was Meghan the only one to leave hers out? Was she trying to avoid something? Or was it someone else's decision?
The certificate lists the private luxury Portland Hospital in Westminster, not the London hospital where Kate Middleton famously posed with her 3 newborns.
At first, people thought maybe it was just a personal choice. Maybe she just wanted it to sound official. But then, 11 days after Archie's birth, the document was corrected. Not updated, not amended, corrected. That means it was legally wrong the first time. People who closely follow the royal family didn't miss this little detail. In fact, many thought it was really strange. Every royal mom before Meghan, even Queen Elizabeth and Kate Middleton, had their full legal names on their children's birth certificates. So why was Meghan the only one who didn't? Was she trying to hide something or avoid something? And just when you think things couldn't get more confusing, along comes baby Lilibet.
And he doesn't want to be too terrible that Harry can do something or try to do something that is abominable to do and will break his heart.
Now, most media outlets report that Lily was born in California, but some documents suggest Colorado might be involved in the story. Sounds random, right? But it starts to make more sense when you look into it. You see, Colorado has different rules when it comes to surrogacy. Unlike California, where the surrogate's name usually appears first on the paperwork, Colorado allows the intended parents, the ones raising the child, to be listed from the beginning. And if someone wanted to keep things private and avoid public questions about a surrogate, Colorado would make that easier. Then came Lily's birth certificate. And guess what? Instead of using Harry's full legal name, which is Henry Charles Albert David, the certificate just said, His Royal Highness the Duke of Sussex.
Every grievance, every private conversation, every subtle slight turned into a headline, from Oprah to Spotify to Netflix.
Now here's where things get serious. In the US, birth certificates aren't just cute baby records. They're official legal documents. They're needed for things like passports, Social Security, custody, and even inheritance. And titles like Duke mean nothing in the eyes of the US government. If Harry's full legal name isn't on the document, he might not have any legal parental rights over Lilibet in America. That's a big deal because it could affect things like who gets custody, who makes decisions, and what happens if something ever goes wrong.
In his newly obtained birth certificate, it shows Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor arrived May 6th, not at their new home Frogmore Cottage like many had expected, but rather at a London hospital.
Some people think this might be an honest mistake, but others aren't convinced, especially because Meghan didn't use her full name on Lily's certificate, which makes it even weirder that she removed her name from Archie's. Critics argue Archie's birth certificate didn't have Meghan's full name. Lily's certificate didn't have Harry's. That's pretty odd. And it makes people wonder if it was done on purpose. Which brings us to the rumor that just won't go away, the surrogacy theory. There's been talk that Meghan didn't actually carry Lilibet herself. Some sources say a 23-year-old woman from Colorado might have been the one who gave birth. Her name isn't public yet, but people close to the situation say she delivered the baby just a few days before Lily's official birth date in June 2021. What's even more mysterious, this woman reportedly signed very strict legal agreements, the kind that can make sure that she can't speak publicly. And since then, no one's seen or heard from her. If this is true, it makes people wonder, why all the secrecy? Why Colorado? Well, it turns out Colorado's surrogacy laws make it easier to keep things quiet, especially when it comes to who's legally listed as the parent on a birth certificate. And that could explain a lot. Many people feel Harry and Meghan went out of their way to keep basic details hidden. And when that happens, people naturally start to wonder, was there a surrogate involved? Was the baby actually born somewhere else? Or is all this secrecy just a way to cover up something bigger? When you look at the repeated secrecy, the legal edits, and all the strange details on important documents, especially when it involves two children connected to the royal family, of course people are going to start asking questions. But the palace, they've stayed dead silent.
Meghan didn't want to do what Kate had done. She didn't want to come out, within hours of giving birth or the day after, with full hair and makeup. So they chose another hospital.
And Colorado? Let's talk about that for a second, because this small detail might actually explain a lot. The state has some pretty unique laws when it comes to surrogacy. Unlike California, where the surrogate's name usually has to appear on the initial paperwork before it's updated to show the intended parents, Colorado takes a more private approach. There, it's completely legal to list the intended parents right from the beginning, no mention of the surrogate at all. So if someone wanted to keep things under wraps, avoid media attention, and leave no public trace of a surrogate, Colorado would be the ideal place. And that's where things start getting interesting. Because in this case, what's missing from the paperwork might be just as important as what's included. Now let's go back to something Meghan shared publicly. She spoke about suffering from postpartum preeclampsia after giving birth to Lily. It's a very serious condition, sometimes even life-threatening, and usually requires bed rest, close medical supervision, and weeks of recovery. But here's the strange part. Shortly after Lily was born, Meghan was out and about in public looking completely normal. No signs of being unwell, no visible recovery period, nothing lined up with what you'd expect after such a major health scare. She looked perfectly fine, like the birth and health complications never even happened. Naturally, people started asking questions. And Harry, just a couple of weeks later, he was in Aspen, Colorado playing polo, smiling, posing for photos. Now think about that. If your wife almost died giving birth, would you really be out there galloping around, hitting a ball with a stick like it's all good? To many people, it just doesn't add up. Then comes the paperwork side of things and more confusion. The document that made its way to the media wasn't a proper certified birth certificate. It was a certificate of live birth, which hospitals give to confirm that a baby was born. It's an official document, but it's not the final version. The actual birth certificate comes later, and that's the one that's used for legal stuff like passports, IDs, and everything else that proves identity. But here's the thing, Lily's full California birth certificate has never been seen. No one's ever released it publicly. All we have ever seen is that hospital-issued version. So the big question is, was the final certificate ever filed? And if it was, why hasn't it been made public like Archie's was? Coming back to Harry's name, or more accurately, the fact that it's just not there, on the document, instead of listing his full legal name, Henry Charles Albert David, they just put His Royal Highness the Duke of Sussex. Here's the problem. In the US, titles don't mean anything legally. If your actual name isn't on the birth certificate, you have no legal connection to that child in American courts. No parental rights, no decision-making power, not even in emergencies. So technically, Harry could be considered a legal stranger to his own daughter in the United States. And here's what really puzzles people. If this was just a little mistake, why hasn't it been corrected? It wouldn't take much effort. Just file an amendment, fix the name, and it's done. But after all this time, still nothing's changed. It's almost like they don't want the mistakes corrected. And when you look back at Archie's birth certificate, things get even more suspicious. Remember how Meghan removed her full legal name from his UK birth certificate? At the time, it didn't get much attention. But now, in hindsight, people are starting to wonder, was that done on purpose? Most moms include their full name, especially their maiden name, to make things legally clear. Meghan, on the other hand, took hers off, leaving only her royal title behind. Later on, when she was asked about it, she said the palace made her do it. And if that's true, the next question is why? Why would the royal family want her identity removed from her own son's official documents? This isn't just about small details. We're talking about serious legal papers that can affect everything from inheritance to parental rights and even the royal line of succession. But when you look at the birth certificates for both Harry and Meghan's kids, it almost seems like the paperwork was arranged in a way to keep things legally confusing. Like Meghan is fully connected to one child and Harry only to the other. That doesn't seem normal, unless of course there's something they're trying to hide. And then comes the part that takes everything to another level. A source close to the situation claimed that Harry might not even be Lilibet's biological father. Sounds like a wild rumor, right? But when you line up everything, it doesn't seem totally impossible. Because the oldest rumors floating around was in the royal gossip circle. It's been whispered for years that Prince Harry had a medical issue as a kid. Something about a hernia, and maybe even one of his testicles. Now, nothing's ever been confirmed officially, but this rumor's been hanging around for decades. And if there's any truth to it, it could explain a lot, like why a surrogacy may have been on the table, and why Meghan might have used both donor eggs and a donor sperm instead of their own biological material. Now, here's where things get serious. In the United States, when it comes to legal parenting, there are two things that matter. Either you share DNA with the child, or your full legal name is listed on the birth certificate. Harry, he didn't list his real name, just his royal title. And if he didn't contribute genetically either, then on paper, he might not have any legal claim to Lilibet at all. Meghan, on the other hand, made sure her full legal name was right there on the certificate. So if the two were ever to split and end up in court fighting over custody, Harry could be completely shut out, just like that. No rights, no say. Some people think that could have been the plan from the very beginning. A lot of people have noticed that Meghan seems way more affectionate and connected to Lilibet than to Archie. Some even say she seems kind of cold or distant towards Archie. Like there's a disconnect. And the theory is, if Lily was carried by a surrogate, but came from Meghan's own eggs, she'd still be her biological daughter. But if Archie wasn't, or if Meghan wasn't emotionally ready to be a mom back then, it might explain why there's a clear difference in how she treats them. When you watch her interviews, or even look at how the kids are presented publicly, it's hard to ignore the contrast. Let's go back to July 2020. Meghan said she had a miscarriage that summer, but not long after, she was spotted at what was said to be a dental clinic in Beverly Hills. Except that clinic is also known for its luxury fertility treatments. People even pointed out that she was carrying a small pouch, one that looked a lot like cooling sacks used after an egg retrieval. And her whole vibe? Calm, composed, almost like the outing was staged. It didn't exactly scream heartbroken mom recovering from a miscarriage. And then there's that so-called birth video of Lilibet. Meghan once promoted it as a sweet little moment from the birth, but the internet quickly noticed some major red flags. There were no masks, no hospital protocols, no signs of the COVID rules that were absolutely strict during that time, and most importantly, the baby bump at the hospital didn't look real.
Meghan Markle posted a bizarre video on her social media yesterday, which sent several people into absolute meltdown. It is the cringiest, most uncomfortable piece of tape I've seen in a long time. I'm sorry, but I'm going to make you watch it. SOT 24.
In California, even partners weren't always allowed in the delivery room back then. So why did Meghan's video show none of that? How was she, a public figure, seemingly exempt from all those restrictions? When you stack it all together, the birth certificate weirdness, the questionable health story, the suspicious timing, and the missing legal names, it really doesn't feel random. It feels like a story that's been carefully curated, tweaked and controlled every time someone asks too many questions. And that silence, it's loud. Because when you connect all the dots, Meghan's quick recovery, the use of privacy-friendly Colorado laws, Harry's name missing from official papers, it starts to look more like than just bad paperwork. It starts to look intentional, maybe even strategic. And the bigger issue? This isn't just about two people and their kids. These kids are in the line of succession to the British throne. So if there's any truth to the speculation, this goes beyond family drama. This touches global history. So if or when the truth does come out, it won't just be a scandal, it could shake the foundation of the monarchy itself. After all the evidences, people gathering proofs online, strange paperwork, the missing names, the perfectly timed public appearances, and all the questions no one seems to be willing to answer, you can't help but ask, what's really going on with Meghan, Harry, and their kids? Now, no one's claiming to have all the answers, but something about this whole situation just doesn't sit right. When you've got birth certificates missing key details, Meghan removing her own name from Archie's record but keeping it on Lilibet's, and Harry not even using his real legal name on official documents, that's not just a privacy move, it's messy and honestly a bit suspicious. The long-standing rumors about Harry's possible fertility issues, Meghan seeming emotionally distant from Archie while being very attracted to Lilibet, it starts to feel like this isn't just a coincidence. It feels a bit planned. Many people think that maybe they're just being extremely private parents, or maybe there's a much deeper story hiding behind carefully crafted press releases and polished appearances. One they've worked hard to keep under wraps. But the thing is, when you're a global public figure and your children are still in line to the British throne, secrets don't stay hidden forever. People notice, people talk, and eventually the truth bubbles to the surface. Whatever the truth is, it's not just going to be royal gossip. It's going to make history. Because this isn't just about Harry and Meghan anymore. It's about their legacy, their children, and whether the version of the story we've been fed is real or just a carefully edited fairy tale. And something tells us this story is just getting started.